This is a celebration of life. In a back room of an Orlando steakhouse, over 300 friends and family members wait for their chance to greet one man. You see, today is a special occasion. On this day, 1 year earlier, Darryl Perry died. Darryl Perry made his mark on the football fields at the University of Florida in the late 80s, paving the way for College Football Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith. While in Gainesville, Darryl met and fell in love with his future wife, Nikki, who was a member of the Dazzlers dance team. A 6'2", 230-pound fullback, Darryl Perry's zest for the game of football and life was contagious.
From the day I met him, to now, he's always been positive, always been a great person. The type of guy that you want your sister to go out with. Just always a good guy.
When his playing days at the University of Florida were complete, Darryl took the work ethic he'd sharpened on the gridiron into the business world. He was a successful businessman, a motivational speaker, a financial advisor, even an avid golfer. He and Nikki started a family, and Darryl remained involved with Gator Athletics as the president of the F Club, the school's athletic alumni association.
I thought he was very personable. He had a winning smile, a winning attitude.
He's the type of guy that you love him instantaneously. There's no, what you see is what you get with Darryl.
His life was very busy, but Darryl always found time for everyone, even coaching his son's Little League team. But just 3 weeks after celebrating his 40th birthday, Darryl Perry's life changed forever.
We went to bed around midnight, and then about 4:08, he made a sound, and I thought he was snoring, because sometimes he snores, so I nudged him. You're snoring. And then he made another sound that just, I don't know why. And he was there gasping for breath, frothing at the mouth, eyes rolled back. So I immediately called 911, and while I was speaking to her, saying, my husband, something's wrong, he let out that last breath.
Darryl Perry experienced sudden cardiac death. It's a heart attack caused by an irregular heart rhythm. Irreparable brain damage and death usually can occur within 4 to 6 minutes after an attack. Darryl Perry went 7 minutes before paramedics could restore his heartbeat. Eventually, he was transported to Orlando Regional Medical Center and placed in a device called the Arctic Sun. The Arctic Sun induces hypothermia, which helps prevent further damage to brain cells. But even after stabilizing his condition, Perry's prognosis remained bleak.
So then the neurologist is the one who finally told me on day 2, he said the EEG monitor is showing nothing but seizure activity. He said the brain cells are making their last gasp for breath. They're all dying. There is no hope of there ever being any recoverable brain activity. So you need to think about when you're going to pull the plug.
Channeling her husband's determined spirit, Nikki fought to remain positive and refused to allow anyone to give up on Darryl's life.
For her to sit there and to tell the doctors what they need to do, to tell the doctors what they're not going to do, to take care of her husband and don't leave her bedside. Kids at home, you look up Superwoman, her face is right there.
Nikki gave me inspiration. She didn't want anybody around the whole situation. They wasn't positive. And I think that just gave me hope, because I was thinking, why shouldn't it be this way? I mean, he has a purpose on his life and on his world.
I knew there was a lot of fight in him, and I just knew this wasn't God's plan for our life. We've always talked about what we believed God's plan was for our lives, our life and our life with our family, and that wasn't part of the plans.
Not satisfied with the answers she was receiving, Nikki sought out a second opinion. She turned to one of the top neurologists in Central Florida, Dr. Ira Goodman, who supplied an entirely different outlook on Darryl's condition.
When I walked in the room, I saw him laying there having seizures, his EEG showing him having seizures, showing a very, very variable pattern. One of the patterns he had was what they call burst suppression, where the brain would be very little activity and then fire, which would correlate with his movement. And that it usually signifies that the brain cells are dying. There was one study done several years ago that looked at 85 people who had continuous seizures, what they call myoclonic seizures, like Mr. Perry had after cardiac arrest. None of those 85 people awoke. But all of the literature that we're basing these decisions on are in patients who never received this hypothermia treatment.
The new doctor that came in, he never gave me any false hope. He never told us anything other than what the records showed. But he said something to me that first day. He said the brain is the most mysterious organ. He said all we can do is wait and see and do what you do, which is pray.
Coming up, signs of life from Darryl Perry.
Then on about day 11, I walked in and said my usual, open your eyes, and he opened them.
That's next on Under the Lights, Stories of Courage.